Holy balls. I saw this in IMAX a few days ago and my ears are still ringing. Say what you want about the price of a ticket, but it's worth it alone just to hear what it would sound like to actually be shot in the eardrum. Plus there was a point where I could definitely see a bogey in Chris Pratt's nose. Now normally that would go unnoticed, but being IMAX, it meant that Harry Snotter was now roughly the same size as a small car. This iteration of the Magnificent Seven is a modern reimagining of the 1960 movie of the same name, which itself is a western take on Akira Kurosawa's masterful Seven Samurai. All three follow the same overall premise. Bad guys roll into a small town, take over, and the locals seek out a group of ragtag fighters to help them take their town back. This version kicks off with Peter Sarsgaard's mining magnate Bartholomew Bogue bursting into a town meeting in their church, announcing his takeover and then promptly setting fire to said church. Why does he take over multiple small towns and communities? Well, just because he can, and for the good of capitalism or something like that. Basically, he's Starbucks. He is instantly set up as a detestable villain, and Peter Sarsgaard clearly has fun chewing up the scenery as he goes. Sarsgaard's an actor that I've always liked since seeing him in a movie called K-19 with Liam Neeson, so it's a bit of a shame that he has pretty much nothing to do outside of the opening and the final few scenes. Following Bogue's episode in the church, Haley Bennett tasked Denzel Washington's gunslinger with rounding up a posse in order to protect the town. I had the weirdest time watching Haley Bennett because while I'm not sure if I've actually seen her in anything else, she seemed so familiar. And a few minutes into the performance, I realised why. Because she is an exact 50-50 genetic splice of Jennifer Lawrence and Bryce Dallas Howard. What follows is basically an extended montage of Denzel gathering his troops, with some of the seven getting a hell of a lot more screen time and backstory than the others. With a cast of this size, it's undoubtedly quite hard to give them all the time they deserve, I'll admit that, but some of them don't have any clear motivation or reason for being there at all. Let's take them one by one, because I am way too lazy to think of a more efficient way of structuring this review. The de facto leader of the group and the coolest cat in a cowboy costume since Clint Eastwood. Do I even need to say anything about this one? He's Denzel, man! Obviously supposed to be the comic relief of the group, Chris Pratt is in full snappy Star-Lord mode in this. As always, Pratt is an absolute joy to watch, and the banter between him and Denzel forms the backbone of the movie. The only thing I'm indifferent about is the trait that he's given of constantly carrying a deck of cards and being into magic tricks. I mean, like, is that really necessary? It doesn't add anything to the film, and it felt like a bit of a hollow attempt to make his character cooler.
Ooh, God dang it, I'm good.
It's amazing to see Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke reunited under their Training Day director Antoine Fuqua. Wait, is that how you pronounce it? Fuqua? 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 Every time I hear his name, I think of Lord Farquaad. Anyway, Hawke's character is the most fleshed out of the seven. He's afflicted with the same PTSD that Robert Vaughn's character had in the 1960 version, and through actions relating to this, ends up with the most coherent story arc of them all. God damn, this guy is huge. As one character comments,
I believe that bear was wearing people's clothes.
and that is absolutely spot on. D'Onofrio's character is an absolute bear of a character, and while other characters may duck and dive and weave in and out of the battlefield, this guy just barrels through, swinging axes as he goes. He actually turns out to be one of the most likeable characters of the group, and that's in no small part down to the frankly bizarre voice that Vincent D'Onofrio decides to employ throughout. Look, I know I'm not good at accents, but I swear to God, he sounds like this. Hands down my favourite of the seven. Hun Lee easily turns his character into the coolest of the bunch. As soon as he's introduced, you know he's a force to be reckoned with, and I think they could probably just have let him loose on his own and he would have single-handedly won the battle. His character's like a cowboy Bruce Lee, agile, nimble, and lightning fast with a knife. He practically ballerinas his way around the battlefield and is arguably weaker when he's using a gun as opposed to running about knifing folk. And look at this picture, right? How old would you say he is? Early 30s? 35? He's f***ing 46! What? This is where things start to get quite vague in terms of why these characters decide to tag along. Although I won't discuss them specifically, the others do have actual reasons for taking part. Chris Pratt owes Denzel Washington a debt, Ethan Hawke is his old friend, Hun Lee is loyal to Ethan Hawke, and I think Vincent D'Onofrio comes along because he sees it as the right thing to do. Martin Sensmeier, on the other hand, seems to come along just because. because I don't know if something was edited out, but it really came across like he just happens to find him out on a walk and tag along for the banter of it. His character unfortunately falls foul of the runtime and doesn't really do anything other than look cool while firing arrows from a rooftop. He does get his own one-on-one fight scene with the only other Native American character, but I feel like that's just in there to give the other ones something to do. He's Mexican? That's kind of it. When the looming showdown finally comes, each of the 7 get at least one of their own hero moments. However, I would like to have seen more of their individual styles be showcased and used in unique ways. Antoine Fuqua is clearly a skilled director, but it does become a bit shooty after a while. In fact, in saying that, the 12A rating means there's a lot of fast cuts between people getting shot where you see like a close-up of the hero firing a gun and then it immediately cuts to a long shot of a nondescript bad guy falling over. This means the battle scenes have a weird lack of weight and it can often be quite hard to follow who's shooting who. Overall though, The Magnificent Seven is a solid popcorn flick and nothing more. That's not meant in a negative way. It knows that that's what it is and it doesn't try to deviate from that. You got to give it credit for trying to be nothing but pure entertainment and then actually following through with that by assembling a fantastic cast, a skilled director, a solid script, and being pretty much as good as it can be. I'm going to give The Magnificent Seven 4 popcorns.